Hi, friends. I'm Nancy Fox.
And I'm Elaine Doran. Welcome to Deep Diving Divas.
On this episode, we're going to be diving in deep to talk about the secrets to a happy marriage or partnership. And we're going to share some really fun tips. You won't want to miss them. So let's get started.
Hey there, friends, it's Nancy and Elaine. They're the Deep Diving Divas, it's quite a name. They're diving deep into the things that matter most, from friendships to family and so much more. Join them each week for a splash of fun.
The doctor is in the house. I am so excited to introduce Dr. Alan Fox. He received his doctorate in psychology from UCLA. Alan is recognized internationally for his career as a professional tennis player, where he was a Wimbledon quarterfinalist and a U.S. Davis Cup player. He coached tennis at Pepperdine University in Los Angeles. In his spare time, he authored 4 books and has become a world-renowned sports psychologist. He speaks around the world and works with all kinds of athletes on mental toughness. So, then why did we invite him to share the secrets of a happy marriage? Well, for one thing, he's been happily married for 44 years.
To me, he's my husband.
You're going to tell everybody. But he's also heard and seen it all, coaching athletes who deal with competition all the time and want to be winners at any cost. He knows what works in a partnership and a marriage where everyone wants to win. Welcome, Alan. It is great to see you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
honey.
Same here. And you too, sweetheart.
Thank you. Well, Alan, several years ago, you wrote an article about the secrets to a happy marriage. And let's face it, you didn't always get it, but you do now. And I'm so happy you do. And so what did you learn? What are the tricks you learned along the way?
Well, the number one thing is picking a good partner. I mean, most people, they sort of back into a marriage by physical attraction or who knows what. But the real key is to marry somebody who's a rational person, okay? Because you need somebody when you get some bumps in the road that you can sit down together and talk things over in a rational way. When you deal with a very emotional person, you just can't do that. So that would be number one, is picking somebody that's rational, stable, solid.
Okay, that reminds me, you shared with me recently, just in the privacy of our home, about a friend of yours and what just happened with his marriage.
Yes, I had this friend married about 35 or 40 years, and not too long ago left his wife. And she's a nice lady, pretty, very bright, but very fault-finding, picky, and negative. And so over the years, it finally got to him. And so he left. And this is the end result. That's a greater difficulty than most people have. Most people just take it. You know, the partner may mistreat them and be fault finding and this and that. But most people don't leave. They'll just stay and take it. But ultimately, it breaks up the marriage. If the person doesn't leave because of fault finding, they just stay there and mind their business, but it's not as loving a relationship as it could be.
That's not good. And actually, when you go back to your friend and the example, you said that it got so broken, and it kind of reminded you of the nursery rhyme Humpty Dumpty. So why don't you explain that?
Yes. It's a very perceptive nursery rhyme, Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty, whatever, had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again, which I think the analogy is that you can insult a relationship several times and it may still survive, but ultimately, if you break it up, if you hurt it enough times, it is not possible to put it back together again.
Okay, so I'd like to say, Elaine, right? Our show is about positivity and we're trying to help people and encourage people. And so let's say you've been in a long-term marriage or relationship, or you've been in and out of many marriages and you don't want to have this mistake again. What tips can you give people in these relationships to fix it? Can you fix a relationship that's going in the wrong direction?
Well, the most important thing to do then is the two people have to put their heads together and both agree on how to go forward. And that would be, number one, you treat your partner better, or at least as well as you would treat a valued friend, okay? Meaning you hold your tongue if there's some negative that can't be changed. You try to forget about it. You try to give as much as you can in the relationship and do things for your partner that they'll appreciate, that they like. For instance, you may be talking about going out to dinner. You go out to the restaurant your partner wants to go to rather than the one you want to go to. And in doing little things like that, you build up equity in an imaginary bank account. And so by doing stuff that you want and your partner doesn't, you lose equity and you're making a withdrawal from the bank account. So you try to do as many things that are not absolutely crucial to you. Go along with your partner. And when you get your way, you remove credit from yourself.
That's such a great analogy, right? Elaine, how's your bank account?
No,
Have
what
a
I was
lot
going to
in
say,
it?
I'm just sitting here thinking, because of course I've been married to my wonderful husband for 42 years and many years plus that before as deep friendships. But what about when there's somebody, one of the partners continues to ask their partner to do something? Like, let's just say, that they have to wash the dishes every night. It's always the wife that's cleaning up and doing everything. I mean, how does it feel when and as you as a man, if Nancy continued to ask you, Alan, do this, do that, do this, do that, and you really don't want to do it, like, what should you do? Should you not ask and just become a martyr, or what?
Well, luckily for Nancy, generally she doesn't have to ask me, because I'm aware of this bank account thing. Nancy is constantly doing nice things for me, making me coffee, baking stuff, 1,000 things. And so I'm actually eager to give back. I don't want to just take and empty out my bank account of goodwill. So I get up and do the dishes myself without her asking me. And the funny thing is that when I'm doing it, I'm happy. I'm not doing it because she made me do it. I'm doing it because I feel like I'm a nice guy. Here I'm giving back, and I feel good about myself doing it. And so it's best if you can talk it out with your partner and both of you agree that you try to do things for each other without being asked as much as possible. So each of you has a nice bank account of goodwill. If you have to ask, well, maybe you have to, but in that case, you want to ask in a very loving way, and you want to be profuse in your praise when they do things for you, which is another of Nancy's little way of being, and that is she does shaping behavior with me. She doesn't say it that way, but if I do any little thing for her, oh, she praises me to the sky. She's so happy, and I'm such a good guy for doing it. But that makes me want to do more stuff.
You said I'm like a dog trainer, right? But the reality is, who doesn't want praise? Who doesn't want recognition? Honestly, I have felt over the years, if you give this much, you get that much back in return. Because if you show gratitude to your partner, that goes. You can't imagine how far that goes for both sides.
Because I think what happens is that finally, if your mate does do something good, you finally go, well, it's about time. I've been asking you for the last 3 years to do this. I can't believe you finally cleaned out the garage. So it's like, oh, great, that just completely violated the whole thing. And they've closed your bank account now. You can't use that bank anymore. So it's really, I guess it really depends. Maybe when they first meet, I mean, obviously everybody should have some kind of marital counseling before they get married, but maybe it's a good idea to make a list of everything that you would want your partner to do with you, for you. I mean, get that settled at the beginning. These are the things that are really important. I had to kind of train Richard to celebrate birthdays. He grew up not having having 5 kids in his family. They did not celebrate birthdays. There was no time. When I met him, I made it really clear, I'm big on the birthdays, and this is what we do. So it worked. He's always been so great and so generous. So we make sure, I'm one of those people that's like that. Even I made the mistake once at Valentine's Day. I said, he said, what can I get you? And I said, don't worry, you don't have to get me anything. I'm so glad we're together. So he didn't give me anything. I was like, I really mean it,
Oh, literally, right. But Ellen, that's an interesting one, Elaine. And that brings up a point, it doesn't matter if any of us agree with that. Like maybe Richard thinks that's ridiculous. I don't like to celebrate birthdays. It doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, but the idea that you made it very clear that it means something to you, that should be enough. Don't you think, Alan?
Yes. Well, what we're talking about is meeting the needs of your partner's emotional system. It doesn't matter whether it's logical or it isn't logical. It depends on how they feel about it emotionally. I mean, if it disturbs them, if they're unhappy because of it, then you don't do it. Whatever it is, you try to figure out, what makes them tick and try to meet their needs.
Exactly. And also, the other thing that you and I have talked about over the years that I'd love to have you address is it's best in a relationship not to keep score, because it doesn't always have to be 50-50. When you start saying, I did this and you didn't do that, that's keeping score, and it's going to cause a lot of problems, right?
Well, that's very wise to think of it that way, because it's never 50-50. Okay, it just isn't. I mean, usually the wife does more stuff around the house than the husband. I mean but the husband should pitch in as best he can, and if the wife is doing more, she should not be resentful of it. That's just how it is. You take the good with the bad.
Alan, I think we talked about once, maybe just males and females have different expectations. And I think you addressed that before, but you might want to repeat that again for, why sometimes the women are the ones that are doing that. Does it make it right? And really, do we have to consider that our genetics are different? Our observations and things we notice are different.
Well, if we go back to the genetics, I mean, men and women are designed differently. We are different physical beings. And so the males were designed to go out and capture food and make a living and defend the tribe. And physically, we were built stronger and faster physically. Women were designed to have the children and to maintain the home, the campsite, wherever, and do more of the inner dealings. Women tend to be more emotional just to begin with. For instance, when boys are young, we're trained, or we get the message that we need to be good in sports and we need to develop ourselves so we can make a living, so we can go out there and provide for a family. Whereas the girls are talking social stuff and personal stuff, much more emotional training. And so we're very different in our upbringing and what messages we get early. Now, the messages are getting mixed now more, but no matter what, the women will be more, in general, will be more in charge of the home and the family and the interactions, and the male will be more in charge of making a living and taking care of the family that way.
And that's why I said it's best not to keep score, because look at Elaine, you've had a career your whole life, I have. But the reality with most of the women that I talk to, it doesn't matter that they're earning a living. Maybe they're even making more money than their husband. But ultimately, they're the ones that usually decide what we're going to have for dinner, going to the grocery store, all those things. It just is the way of the world, right?
By the way, it reminds me of a remark my friend Charlie Passerell made. Charlie said, in my house, he says, I make all the big decisions and my wife makes the little ones. I decide on world wars and political events and who's going to be president. And she decides where we're going to live and what we're going to have for dinner.
Right, the most important things is we all get it.
So that's how it tends to be.
Yeah.
Ellen, before we wrap up, is there any other little nuggets that you want to add? I love the bank account. I mean, that's a simple thing that, because we all have bank accounts, that I think that will be extremely helpful. And the idea that not keeping score. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, a few little tidbits. One is that people are more emotional than you think, and they're easily hurt. And so you want to be careful with your partner that you don't say things that hurt their feelings. You don't joke about they're putting on weight in the rear end or something. You might joke that way with your guy friends in the locker room, but it's certainly not with a female. And just both partners in a marriage need to look at the partner as their best friend and to treat them the way you would your best friend. Okay? You be careful with them. And most people are more careful with their friends than they are with their partner.
Because the friends can disappear. They don't have to be in your life, but hopefully your partner does. So I think that's a huge one. Treat your partner, number one, the way you want to be treated, and treat them. They should be first and foremost in your life. We are to each other. Look, we have kids, we have families, but we're number one in each other's lives. And that goes a long way.
And I think I think we take so much for granted. It's so easy to say that, but, you feel like, well, gee, you're married for life, so you can just be terrible for the rest of your life. I mean, most likely they're not, you're not going to get divorced. And you say with your friend that did this after 35 years, that's a wake-up call, because we always think, well, if we lasted this long, we're going to, and I'm too old to leave and blah, 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 and the whole thing, but it's never too old to go, and I think that you really have to remember, that one of the things I do sometimes, if I feel like I'm taking Richard for granted, I go back and I kind of do this sense memory of remembering what it was like when we were together just dating, and sometimes we'll talk about those times too, where we met when we were both teachers, and, bringing back those memories, some of those sense memories and stuff. And it makes you remember how much and how wonderful your relationship is. And it's like all of a sudden you can have that feeling again. You need to dig deep and get that feeling back of why you are together.
Yeah, date your husband. I love that.
Yeah.
And even if you're not worried that your partner's going to leave after 30 or 40 years, the little insults or the hurts will make them love you a little less. Okay, it'll hurt the bond. And so you don't want to do anything that will hurt it. You want to do only things to make it stronger.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, really. I think that's a great thing to end on. So, honey, thank you so much for joining us. It was so enlightening for many, many, many of us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Richard and
don't go away, because Elaine and I are going to share a little tip. So stay tuned.
Bye, Helen. Great to see you again. Bye-bye.
Guys.
Nancy, I've got a fun tip that I think I made up myself before there was Instagram or Reels. You know, I have these wine bags, which I'm sure many of you have seen when your friends
You mean like this? I brought mine.
Oh, that's such a pretty bag. You know, they're beautiful bags. So you know what? After I had 20 of these sitting in my closet and trying to store them, I took a look and I thought, you know, if you just look at this, you realize I could cut this in half and turn it into a small little gift bag that I could actually use. So all you have to do, Nancy, is just
How high do you go?
Well, you can make it any size you want. If you want a small bag, you know, a little gift bag, you're putting a gift card in something, or just a jewelry piece of necklace or something. But if you've got a little bit, and it's probably better to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to cut it right here. And whoopsie days. It's hard to cut with one hand. Oops, I'm cutting. Bingo. Yeah. Okay, so look at this. Look at this cute bag that I have now.
I love it.
Look at this. You could fill it with nuts, with food, with, you know, anything you want to do. And what do you think, Nancy? Do you have, what do you
Stuff
think
it with
about
tissue, but here's another tip, Elaine.
Yes.
I would take this bag.
Okay.
I'm going to fold down the top.
Okay.
And then I am such a fan of the old-fashioned clothespin. Remember these?
Fun.
You know what? I used to use them to add to gift cards, any kind of gift bag. They're just perfect. But look how cute.
Oh, I
and
love
then your bag is sealed. It should be straighter, but you get the gist of
You
it.
did that with Mrs. Beasley's and all
I
your
did it with, and Nancy's out the kitchen. $11 store, $1 used to be $1, but you get 12 for $1.25.
You know what, Nancy? You can also clip your gift card onto that with the paper clip so it doesn't get lost.
Exactly. And they have minis in the craft section. Also, you probably get 2 dozen for $1.25. So you got to love it. Okay, Elaine, let's tell everybody before we close how to find us. If you liked our show today, you want more questions for Dr. Fox, what questions should we have asked? Or if you want to chime in, please send us an email, thedeepdivingdivas@gmail.com, or join us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube on our channel at The Deep Diving Divas, right on our wall. And if you wanted to add some other show ideas, we want to know what you want to listen to. So please, please, please join us.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Invite your friends to watch our podcast. Listen to our podcast.
Let's have a blast together.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks all.